Those that want to do the exercise, we're going to say rock star to ourselves without opening our mouths, without saying anything outside. We're going to say this to ourselves. We're going to say rock star to ourselves. Don't say it out loud at the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Now the question to ask, if you've said rock star in your mind, the question to ask is, what voice is that? What voice is that? What voice just spoke? You just said rock star without moving your mouth at all. On top of that, you on top of saying rock star, you heard yourself say rock star. How can you hear yourself say rock star and no vibration of sound has happened? See, this puts a different perspective on what sound actually is. And what memory is. Memory's not in the brain, memory's in the soul. The only thing you take with you after this life is your memories or your knowledge, your experiences. That's the only thing you take. Unless you study Egypt culture, they believe you can take all their stuff with you on the other side. Just as a side note. But if you said rock star in your mind or in your being is the true answer, is the true statement. In your being, what was that voice? What was the voice that spoke and then you heard yourself speaking? But these ears did not hear you say anything because your mouth didn't move. So the ears didn't hear it, the mouth did not move, but you spoke and you heard yourself speaking. If you close your eyes, you can see this better. If you close your eyes and put this image in another sight, if you close your eyes, you can still see this. What is the sight that can see your future? These two eyes don't see the future. These two eyes don't see the past. Yet, you can see your past and you can see your future. You can actually see your past. What is the sight that can see beyond time? Don't give it away. What is this is an ancient meditation. This is an ancient meditation that I am not the flesh. I am the energy, the consciousness, the being in the flesh. And this is proof. This is no faith. This is not religion. This is actual fact. You can speak without moving your mouth. You can hear without ears. You can see without eyes. So what happens when these eyes, this mouth, and this ear drops off into the grave? These other senses are all you're left with. Death is an illusion. Once you realize this, you live your life more courageously. Now, no one wants to die before their time, so you try to protect yourself. But know that this body is the limitation of you. It is not your zenith. It is not your ultimate. Your ultimate is that voice that just said rock star. That voice that just said rock star without nothing physical moving, that person is immortal. That person is not here with you. Let's go deeper. The body is in, 3 dimensions, right? Forward, back, right, left, up, down, and time. 4th dimension. 3 dimensions plus time. That's our physical reality. Front, back, right, left, up, down, that's 3D plus time. What happened to in and out? Look at the English thought. Back, forth, right, left, up, down, no in and out. No in and out. What is in and out? Rock star. Rockstar says, I exist without the body. So where is this other existence? Where is it? It's not here. It's not in three-dimensional space where you really are. The person that said this is in a whole different dimension. Just switch a little bit. Talk to yourself more. Affirm to yourself more. Don't move none of this. No, close this down and go within and say, I am the greatest ... ever. I have all my needs coming with speed. I am a being of love and light and knowledge. No weapon formed against me shall prosper. Whatever it is, have your affirmation on your tongue. Or, sorry, in your being. This is how the gods created this whole reality. Once you realize that level of consciousness, where you are officially, you identify yourself as the spirit, not the flesh. You are the inner voice, not the outer voice. And this is where you heal all sickness in your body. This is where you command reality to work with you, and it works according to your consciousness. Why? Because it's not a shell that's speaking. There's a real being in the shell that is speaking. And when the real being speaks, all nature and the universe responds.
There is no matter as such. All matter originates and exists only by virtue of a force which brings the particle of an atom to vibration and holds this most minute solar system of the atom together. We must assume behind this force the existence of a conscious and intelligent mind. This mind is the matrix of all matter.
You are a Christ-conscious triune being in a projection, a thought in the mind of God, a manifestation of the expression of Alpha and Omega. Every person living within this three-dimensional reality lives a completely illusionary existence. What man considers the ordinary events of everyday life on Earth have no counterparts in the higher realms of awareness. Every person dwelling on the earth today is a living Christ triune being. Subject to the third dimensional mentalized illusion, this material plane. On Earth, each of you has 5 lower outer senses and 105 higher or inner senses you cannot normally access. Because of this, you are only able to perceive a very narrow bandwidth of this reality, and the way to unlock these higher senses is to understand the one law that governs this reality. There is only one law, and that is the law of absolute and unconditional love and service to the creation for the Creator. Evil is doing in practice the opposite of what you should be doing in principle. The reason is simple. Disharmony is the result. What is thought of as evil is, quite simply, the presence of disharmony through acting in opposition to the one law. Evil is a choice, and the so-called battle of Armageddon that those of a religious persuasion are waiting for is, in actual fact, already being waged. It is a battle of energy that is being fought in a higher realm. It is a battle that is being fought on all levels, both spiritually and physically, and even electromagnetically. The weapons that are being used to wage this war are all around you. They are food toxins, electromagnetic radiation, and television. It is a battle of consciousness. It is being waged by occult means, and it is going on right now. The outcome of this war will be that man will either awaken his DNA, realize his true potential, and change this reality into one that embraces his connection to everyone and everything and to the Creator, or he will succumb, and in doing so, he will lose the final vestige of his humanity. We are right now on the precipice. We are teetering on the brink of one of these two realities. On one side lies salvation, and on the other, oblivion, while in our hands lies the choice. Look around you. This battle has been raging for many, many years. People are just kept distracted by design, and so for the most part, they haven't yet noticed. Free yourself of the distraction though, and it becomes very obvious and quite plain to see. We are not in the end days or even in the end hours. We are in the final minutes, and the choice of what the final outcome will be, the very key to winning, lies within each of you. All I can ask is that you each look within yourself, because when you look deep enough, you will find that the words I have spoken are true. Realize your inner power and embrace your true potential, because the truth will set you free. My friends, stop complying with this system. It's time to wake up. Everything is energy. What you perceive with your five senses to be the solid world around you is actually nothing of the sort. It is simply differing frequencies of energy acting in harmony to form what our senses perceive as matter. The reality that we are experiencing every day and all matter within it is in fact a symphony. A symphony consisting in its entirety of light and of sound. Ultimately, there is nothing else. There is only these differing vibrational frequencies of light and sound. This was expressed more than eloquently in the book The Four Agreements, in which the author Don Miguel Ruiz wrote that it is not the stars that create the light, but rather the light that creates the stars. The universe in which we live is exceedingly vast. It is fractal in nature, and this is more significant than you may at first comprehend, because recent advances in science indicate to us that this entire universe actually exists within the center of a black hole. And reality exists as above and so below. Have you ever truly looked within yourself? Does it seem significant to you that each of the 100 trillion atoms that make up each of the 53 trillion cells that in turn make up the human body is itself structured as a solar system? Each one of these atoms consists of 99.999% empty space, and yet it is these empty atoms that make up the seemingly solid world both around you and within you. Each world a realm of infinite possibility and of infinite energy, and yet one is contained within the finite space of your body, as above and so below. At the heart of each atom, as at the heart of each cell, and at the heart of every living being, lies an energy so powerful and so mysterious that it had until recently remained elusive and undefined to modern science. What is contained within this energy is consciousness, and the form that it takes is that of a black hole. This is extremely significant, because what this understanding suggests to us is that within each atom of your body there also lies yet another seemingly endless universe, and that the universe in which we live also exists within the nucleus of an atom. To truly grasp the concept and the significance of this, one needs only to realize that all that actually exists within creation is consciousness. Consciousness composed of nothing more than pure energy. Everything is energy, and everything is consciousness, because the energy itself is conscious. Each soul in projection within this reality is simply one frequency of this consciousness, and one expression of that frequency, and as above, so below. And so it continues to infinity. This information is not new. It has been known for eons, and it has been used throughout man's history. It was known and used over 10,000 years ago during the construction of the pyramids and of other ancient megalithic monuments, and it was known long before that time as well. Since that time, humanity has suffered a great forgetting. To many people, it may be somewhat staggering to come to the realization that man lived perfectly well on this planet for such long periods of years prior to what is taught and what is believed by our culture. Yet evidence clearly suggests that such is indeed the case. Such evidence indicates to us that the real truth is that the entire course of human history is unthinkably different from what we find suggested to us and often presented to us as fact in our modern libraries and our history books. And it is largely due to the suppression of truth regarding such matters that we find ourselves today living within societies that are fractured and in all ways dysfunctional. Societies that are in fact wholly illusionary. With any real investigation, we can find in truth everything taught to us by our education and our religious systems is wrong. And this is most especially true when taken in regard to our significance as individuals. Through such institutions, we are taught that we are just little people. We are insignificant in the higher scheme of things. But it's a lie. Each of us quite literally holds the key to the universe in our hands if we would just look and see it. For the reality is that we are not merely spectators here, and in truth, mankind and the overall experience that we are involved in right now on this earth is the main event. We are, each of us here, participating in creation at this particular time for a specific purpose. That purpose is to create this reality, to perceive the experience, and to gather knowledge. The tools that we have been provided with in order to achieve this task are our thoughts, our feelings, and our emotions, while the most powerful tool of all is our free will. In our perception and interaction with this reality, this free will is the key we have been searching for. It is truly the most important thing of all. It is this free will that provides us with our freedom of choice. And it is this freedom of choice that controls the state of our consciousness. For whether we realize it or not, it is this freedom of choice that decides which energy we as individuals choose to center ourselves in. And it is from this chosen center that each of us perceives our individual reality. It is our individual perceptions that then, in turn, creates that which is perceived by the collective consciousness, of which we are all part. It is the choice and decisions of the collective consciousness, the free will of the people, that quite literally creates the world that we experience every day. There are now many fields of science that are also realizing a need to embrace this perspective. Indeed, many scientists are at last realizing that it is only by embracing a spiritual understanding and then applying it to science that any true answers will ever be found. For example, mainstream science is now openly declaring that consciousness is non-local to the body. And this is also extremely significant. For what this means is that what you see when you look in the mirror is not actually you. It is merely the vessel that you use as a tool to create and experience your chosen reality. For the real truth is that the world in which you live is purely illusionary. It is nothing more than a construction of your beliefs, your perceptions, and your intentions. A creation of your understanding and your conditioning. And it is these things that confuse you into believing that what you perceive in the mirror is who and what you are, and that controls what you think you can and cannot achieve. They also convince you that what you perceive and experience as the solid world around you is real, even though it is purely an illusion you are experiencing. What is required to gain an understanding of your true nature and of the power you hold on a personal level is to gain an understanding of energy and to be aware of what type of energy you are centered in. Everything that exists is simply energy in differing forms of perception. Everything is energy. It is this energy that makes up this reality. What you perceive around you as vacuum and empty space is the true stuff of the universe. For what you perceive as a solid world around you, the things you perceive as matter are in reality simply divisions in space. It is the space that is truly real. What arranges the substance of this space into discernible matter is consciousness. The conscious energy field around you has been called many things by many people. It has been called the matrix, the mind of God, nature, or even simply the field. It is the intangible stuff that connects all things and binds them into a single reality. It is this field that each of you is connected to and with which you interact to create and shape reality every moment of every day. This is achieved via your perceptions and through the interactions of your thoughts, your feelings, and your emotions. For these things that occur within you are quite literally a language. And this language, though not spoken, is very real. The importance of understanding this language has been known since ancient times. Many societies of the past based their entire civilizations upon gaining this understanding. And it was solely for this purpose that many of their now ancient structures were created. Many of these ancient remains were not merely temples, they were places of learning. The key to comprehending such places is to understand how energy works and how different energies are affected by different types of geometry. A structure would be built according to certain sacred geometric principles in order to create certain frequencies within the individual. The building itself would then generate a specific type of energy field that would be perceived by anyone entering inside as a tangible feeling or emotion within them. The walls and ceilings of these places would then be adorned with information in the form of hieroglyphs, texts, and zodiac references that to the layman would simply seem like interesting stories, but to the initiated would explain the energy and the feeling generated by the structure, what this type of energy truly was, and how it could be understood, harnessed, and spoken. Each of these structures served in essence as a book, enabling the student to understand and speak the language of feeling and emotion. This language is still used and it is still spoken by people in the modern world today. In fact, it is spoken every single moment of every single day by every human being on Earth, though most are completely unaware that they are doing so. It is the language of electromagnetism, spoken to the surrounding energy field via the liquid crystal oscillator that powers your body. It is the language of the heart. There are, however, certain forces in this world that have worked to ensure such information is kept out of public knowledge. And this is most especially true in our modern societies, where the powers that be have painstakingly attempted to keep such knowledge well hidden. These forces have succeeded in trapping the collective consciousness of humankind within one small layer of a fractal and endless reality. And this has been achieved via the manipulation of mind. Methods have been employed that have succeeded in completely detaching human beings from their sense of power and reality. And this is a process that has been going on for a very long time. It has been done through the suppression of true knowledge and by using such machinations as religion, patriotism, race, wealth, class, and every other form of separatism available in order to create a divided mindset among the people. Anything to make humankind feel separated from each other and from the planet they live upon. And the main tool that has been used to achieve these ends is fear. The situation we are facing in the world today has been created by design, and it has become what we perceive as reality simply because most people are unaware of the true nature of reality or have any real understanding of how this world is actually run. It continues to this day due to the fact that the only information that most people receive comes from newspapers or the television. And it needs to be made clear to everyone that the mainstream media will never inform people as to the real facts surrounding anything. It is simply not what the media is designed to do. The mainstream media has little or nothing to do with keeping people informed, and everything to do with controlling the flow of information and shaping the thoughts, beliefs, and opinions of the populace. These institutions simply present theory and propaganda as fact and promote ridicule toward anyone questioning them. It is a very cleverly constructed system, but once you have figured out how to see through the haze of propaganda, the real truths become painfully obvious. But still, many people fail to see through the haze, and so now we find the entire human race facing a most precarious situation. The first step in remedying this situation, the first step in regaining an understanding of reality and of our true connection to it, is to free ourselves from the control mechanisms of the physical world. And the way to achieve this is for each individual on this planet to stand up and to reclaim their birthright. Do you think everything happening in the world today is normal? Do you consider the path humanity is currently treading to simply be a natural progression? Do you think the war on terror is real? Open your mind and open your eyes. Notice the continuing illegal invasions. Notice the continual removal of your rights. Notice the anti-humanitarian legislation being enacted by our governments, and understand that this situation simply cannot continue without the acceptance and passive compliance of the people. So stop complying with it, because the prison door is now swinging shut. The governments and police that we have employed to protect us have visibly stepped from their path. No longer do police act in the capacity of peace officers. Now they are simply hired thugs of governments that have long since ceased to act in the best interests of the people. And the fact that in modern times many police officers and also many soldiers are actually brainwashed enough to unquestioningly enforce any piece of corrupt legislation handed to them rather than arresting the criminals who gave the orders indicates a grave danger to the people. This is why it is so important for public awareness of the real issues facing humanity, because with public awareness we can quite easily turn things around and create a peaceful and empowered society. It is also why it is so important for police to wake up to themselves and start actually doing their job of protecting the citizens rather than defending elitist corruption and undermining the security of their nation, which is what they are currently doing. Unfortunately for the people, most modern police officers have forgotten that they are people too, and that the perceived power of these individuals lies in the uniform, not in the pawn that is wearing it. These police officers are removing their own rights as well, and ultimately it comes down to the people to stop this occurring. One really cannot blame the puppet leaders, nor even the criminal banksters that control them, because ultimately it's all happening simply because the people are going along with it. It's all about free will. It's all about whether you choose to allow this situation to continue, or whether you choose to shake off the TV-induced apathy, spread the word, and stand up and say no. What we are experiencing in this reality is freedom of choice. So step away from the fear, because it is truly time for people to understand the real power that they have. Turn your back on the TV, shake off the fear mentality, and stand up and say no. Come to the realization that we are not numbers, we are not consumers, we are sovereign people, and the governments are our elected servants. Understand where their position in the hierarchy actually lies. The government serves the people do not serve the government. And with public awareness of the true dilemma facing humanity, we can quite peacefully and very easily rectify things. One may pause to wonder how we ever let it get this far. How do we ever let the world fall into the situation it is now in? The entire system is completely corrupt. It is corrupt in every single way. Wars are created by design. Whole nations are decimated for the sake of corporate interests. Our food is poisoned with toxins. Our water supply is filled with toxic waste under the pretext of it keeping our teeth healthy. Whole countries are brought to their knees for the sake of profit, while most people fail to even admit that there's a problem. People spend their lives in the collecting of meaningless trinkets or in self-improvement, while ignoring everything that goes on around them, and believing the world is the way it's portrayed on the television, the way it looks in magazines. Many focus on the divisions among people and what they perceive to be different about others from themselves, rather than on the similarities. The essence in each of us that remains at the core, the essence that connects us to each other, the essence that makes us all the same. And people wait to ascend to a higher consciousness, or to be delivered into salvation by a Saviour, without ever having to take responsibility for themselves. And they still fail to see that there's a problem. People scoff at the idea that fluoride is a neurotoxin, and yet the world is being strip-mined and depopulated around them. Government corruption is rife, the whole system is rotten to the core, and still no one sees it as a problem. And now, with the introduction of genetically modified food and seed patenting, we are seeing a situation arise which has the potential to destroy the entire food chain on this planet. And all of this is occurring simply because we, the people, are allowing it to happen. One may pause to ask, exactly in whose interests is it to destroy the entire food chain? Why is our Earth being strip-mined around us? And why is such a massive amount of depopulation occurring? One may even pause to question, who is really in charge here?
For the first time in human history, for the first time in all of human history, almost all of mankind is politically awake. And these new and old major powers face still yet another novel reality, in some respects unprecedented. And it is that while the lethality of their power is greater than ever, their capacity to impose control over the politically awakened masses of the world is at a historical low. I once put it rather pungently, and I was flattered that the British Foreign Secretary repeated this, as follows. Namely, in earlier times, it was easier to control 1 million people, literally. It was easier to control 1 million people than physically to kill 1 million people. Today, it is infinitely easier to kill 1 million people than to control 1 million people. It is easier to kill than to control.
Humanity is indeed facing challenging times. There is absolutely no denying the fact of this. It is all around us. Wars, terrorism, famine, disease, corruption, homelessness, the end of the central banking pyramid scheme currently manifesting itself as the global financial crisis. Climate change the media tries to teach us is man-made, despite a wealth of scientific evidence to the contrary. And there are many other things besides. Even in this film, I've mentioned some of the challenges we are facing from the very governments and police forces we have employed to protect us. And who, through the use of a controlled media, have slowly worked to convince people that they are our rulers, when they are in fact our servants. Yet despite all the problems we face, any investigation reveals that all of these issues have a common cause, and that this cause can very easily be addressed. All that is needed to do so is public awareness of the real situation humanity is facing. In fact, when one puts away the fear, stands back and looks deep enough, it can be seen that all of these challenges actually present mankind with the most wonderful opportunity. Perhaps the greatest we have ever had offered to us. Indeed, such challenges as those we currently face may even be seen as something of a blessing, for were it not for the challenges, the opportunity we now have would never have presented itself to us. And it truly is being handed to us on a silver platter. What we are being provided with is an opportunity to embrace the power we all have. The choice to step away from the fear and to unite the human family. An opportunity for the human race to understand the connection we have to each other and to embrace a unity of consciousness. Certainly, it is extremely important that we free ourselves from the corporate shackles of this society. It is important that the social and political issues, the fake wars of contrivance, the loss of rights, and the attitude of our corrupt governments and police forces be dealt with. But what is even more important is that they be dealt with in the right way. That way is not through violence and revolution. It is not through a centre of anger and hatred. The powers that be want violent revolution. They want the polarised energy such conflagrations produce. But this must not be done. For the most effective way to deal with it all is through a peaceful rebellion of non-compliance to the system, and through adherence to the one law, to connect to the heart and to do the right thing. Many people are waking up to this, and the more people who wake up, the more the field is charged with their energy. And so the field changes and continues to awaken more in turn as they draw new energy into themselves. And so it continues exponentially. The powers that be know this. They know the field is changing. They know that we have this opportunity to move into heart energy. They can sense how precarious their hold over this world now is, and how easily this control could slip from their grasp. This is the main reason for the current global instability and political tension, the recombinant H5N1 swine flu virus and accompanying vaccination program, in a blatant last-ditch attempt at depopulation. And there is a reason for all of these things to have been thrust upon us at the very same time. That reason is to manipulate consciousness through the use of polarized energy, by creating an atmosphere of tension, of distrust, of anger, and of fear.